This is our past, gentlemen. This is where we have been. This is how we got here. This is who we are today.
You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, one half a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
It's not about that scoreboard out there. It's not about winning. It's about you and your relationship to yourself and your family and your friends.
They're strong, fast, and undefeated. So far. But I want you to remember where God has brought us. I want you to remember how hard you've worked. We weren't supposed to have a winning season, but we do. We weren't supposed to advance through the playoffs, but we did. We're not supposed to be here, but we are. So if there's anything in you that says this is a losing effort, throw it out. Because as I stand here, I believe that as long as we honor God, nothing is impossible.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me today for another broadcast from Diggin, Deeper Ministries. While we are a Christian ministry, we are also sports fans who enjoy the competition of many leagues, including the National Football League. We will never forget our roots as a Christian ministry, but that does not mean we cannot explore other interests as well. God never said to avoid other interests. He is clear, however, that these interests must never take priority over Him. With that in mind, I am your host, Brian Parsons, for Diggin, Deeper into the NFL. On today's program, we'll go diggin' deeper into the Week 7 of the 2025 NFL season. Week 7 kicked off on October 16, 2025, with the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to face the Cincinnati Bengals in a primetime AFC North showdown. Entering the matchup, expectations were mixed, particularly for Cincinnati. With each passing week after Joe Burrow's injury, which may or may not be season-ending, and the uneven play from backup Jake Browning, the Bengals' year appeared to be slipping away. In a bold mid-season attempt to salvage their campaign, Cincinnati turned to veteran quarterback Joe Flacco, acquired via trade October 7th. What followed was an entertaining, back-and-forth contest that showcased big plays, dramatic swings, and a wild finish. While many predicted the Steelers to control the matchup, the Bengals showed early that they were not willing to fade quietly. Pittsburgh struck first. In the opening quarter, quarterback Aaron Rodgers found tight end Jonnu Smith for a 10-yard touchdown, giving the Steelers a 7-0 lead. Early in the second quarter, kicker Chris Boswell added a 41-yard field goal to extend the advantage to 10-0. But the Bengals answered with resilience. Flacco, looking sharp in orange pinstripes, somewhat, connected with wide receiver Jamar Chase for an 8-yard touchdown, cutting the deficit to 10-7. Later in the quarter, Flacco struck again, this time delivering a 29-yard scoring pass to T. Higgins, giving Cincinnati its first lead of the night at 14-10. Before halftime, kicker Evan McPherson drilled a 49-yard field goal, sending the Bengals into the locker room with a 17-10 advantage. Cincinnati continued to build on momentum in the third quarter. McPherson added another field goal, a 23-yarder, stretching the lead to 20-10, but Pittsburgh responded quickly. Rodgers orchestrated a sharp drive capped by a 19-yard touchdown strike to tight end Pat Freiermuth, trimming the Bengals' lead to 20-17. As the game entered the fourth quarter, the Steelers appeared to seize momentum, but Flacco halted their surge with another composed drive, finishing it with a 5-yard touchdown pass to tight end Noah Fant. The Bengals extended their lead to 27-17. Rodgers answered with a short touchdown to tight end Darnell Washington, tightening the score to 27-24. McPherson added a 45-yard field goal on the next Bengals possession, giving Cincinnati a 30-24 edge with under 5 minutes remaining. Then came the play that electrified the stadium and nearly broke the Bengals' hopes. With just over 2 minutes to play, Rodgers launched a deep ball down the seam, connecting with Freiermuth for a stunning 68-yard touchdown. The Steelers surged ahead 31-30 as their sideline erupted. But Joe Flacco, the 40-year-old journeyman, had one more drive in him. Starting from his own 25-yard line, Flacco methodically guided the Bengals down the field. A critical 28-yard completion to Higgins pushed Cincinnati into scoring range. With 7 seconds left, McPherson drilled a clutch 36-yard field goal, reclaiming the lead at 33-31. Pittsburgh's last-second desperation attempt failed, sealing a vital and emotional victory for Cincinnati. Flacco finished with 342 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Jamar Chase delivered a record-setting performance with 16 catches for 161 yards. Rodgers threw for over 300 yards and 3 scores in the loss. For the Bengals, the win may mark a season-defining turning point. For the Steelers, it was a bitter defeat in a game that came down to inches. The numbers told the story of a tightly contested matchup, with Cincinnati controlling both the tempo and the scoreboard for much of the night. The Bengals dominated time of possession 34 minutes and 32 seconds to 25 minutes and 28 seconds, thanks to a balanced offensive attack that produced 470 total yards, including 328 passing and 142 rushing. Pittsburgh kept pace with 396 total yards, fueled by 249 passing yards from Aaron Rodgers and 147 on the ground. But 2 costly turnovers proved pivotal. The quarterback duel leaned slightly in Cincinnati's favor, as Joe Flacco completed 31 of 47 passes for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions, while Rodgers finished 23 of 34 for 249 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Both teams were efficient on third down, Pittsburgh converting 7 of 10, Cincinnati 7 of 14. But the Bengals' ability to sustain drives ultimately set the stage for their late game-winning field goal. Let's fast forward to Sunday, October 19th, with another matchup for the International Series. The Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars square off across the pond at Wembley Stadium. For those in London, they waited with anticipation for this game, and while this matchup took place between playoff-caliber teams, it was not a competitive game. The Rams were in control from the beginning, blowing out the Jaguars, making them look more like kittens than ferocious predators, 35-7. The victory showcased complete dominance on both sides of the ball. Matthew Stafford delivered one of his most efficient performances of the season, throwing 5 touchdown passes and distributing the ball to 10 different targets, even with star receiver Puka Nacua sidelined. Davante Adams was nearly unstoppable, hauling in 3 touchdown receptions as the Rams' passing attack overwhelmed Jacksonville's coverage. The Jaguars struggled to slow the game down, losing the time of possession battle 31 minutes and 46 seconds to 28 minutes and 14 seconds, while also failing to generate any consistent pressure on Stafford. Trevor Lawrence threw for 296 yards and found rookie Travis Hunter for a late touchdown, but most of Jacksonville's production came after the game was already out of reach. Defensive breakdowns and third down failures plagued the Jaguars throughout the matchup, while the Rams' defense repeatedly collapsed the pocket, forced hurried throws, and disrupted drives before they could develop. Historically, the Rams have controlled this head-to-head series, and this meeting was no exception, extending their all-time advantage to 6-1. The win served as a statement for Los Angeles, proving their offense can explode even when shorthanded, and that their defense can dictate games. For Jacksonville, it was a deflating setback that highlighted issues with execution, discipline, and consistency, problems they will need to correct quickly to stay competitive in the AFC picture. The Jaguars put up more yards, 358 to 271, but the Jaguars were unable to turn them into points. Matthew Stafford threw for 182 yards, completing 21 of 33 passes in a dominant showing. In a tense Week 7 showdown at US Bank Stadium, the Philadelphia Eagles snapped a 2-game skid by edging the Minnesota Vikings 28-22 behind a near-perfect performance from Jalen Hurts and big play bursts from his receivers. Philly made enough magic to overcome Minnesota's opportunities. Hurts was surgical, completing 19 of 23 passes for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he did it with 0 interceptions. He capped it off late, dropping a 45-yard bomb to A.J. Brown on 3rd and 9 to essentially seal the victory. His overall composure under pressure and ability to hit big throws proved decisive. Devonta Smith torched the Vikings with 183 receiving yards, a career high, including a spectacular 79-yard touchdown from Hurts. A.J. Brown also made big plays, hauling in 2 touchdowns, including the opening score on a 37-yard strike off a 4th down conversion. Minnesota's offense was active. They racked up 387 total yards per the box score, but when they got close, they couldn't punch it in. The Vikings went just 1 for 6 in the red zone, settling for 5 field goals from Will Reichard. Quarterback Carson Wentz threw for 313 yards, but 2 critical interceptions, One return for a pick-6 by Jalix Hunt derailed Minnesota's chance. The Eagles' defense came up big when it counted. Hunt's interception return for a touchdown in the second quarter put Philly up, and they made enough stops not to let the Vikings take over late. Minnesota tried something creative on defense as Vikings defense coordinator Brian Flores had a player aligned sideways at the line of scrimmage to disrupt the Eagles' tush-push quarterback sneak. It showed some ingenuity, but Philly adjusted quickly through the air. For the Eagles, this was more than just a bounce-back win. It was a statement. Hurts looked elite, the passing game clicked, and the team showed resilience despite injuries. If Philly maintains this level, they're not just playoff contenders. They might be built for the long haul. The Vikings, yardage-wise, they move the ball well, but the inability to finish in the red zone continues to be a killer. Wentz showed flashes, but turnovers at the worst times hurt. Minnesota's innovative defense, hello, sideways lineman, is interesting, but without better offensive execution, it's not enough. Looking ahead, the Eagles get a boost in confidence and momentum. The Vikings have to figure out their red zone formula or risk more close losses. Injuries dinged the Eagles early. They lost center Cam Jurgens, knee, and key defenders Azeez Ojulari and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in the first quarter. The New England Patriots traveled to Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, to take on the Tennessee Titans. In what was essentially a homecoming for Mike Vrabel, the former Tennessee Titans head coach returned to Nashville as the leader of the surging New England Patriots and left with a resounding 31-13 victory. Vrabel, who spent 6 seasons molding the Titans into consistent contenders, got to see firsthand how his current team can impose itself on his former squad. Quarterback Drake May stole the spotlight with 21 completions on 23 attempts for 222 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding 62 rushing yards to show he's a dual-threat force. May's precision and poise reflected the disciplined, well-prepared Patriots Vrabel now commands. New England's defense turned in a statement performance. K'Lavon Chaisson recovered a fumble and returned it for a touchdown, and Marcus Jones sealed the win with a late interception. The Patriots' front consistently pressured rookie quarterback Cam Ward, who finished 255 yards and 1 touchdown, but couldn't overcome New England's dominance. Tennessee's offense showed flashes, including a 38-yard touchdown from Chimere Deek, but the team struggled to protect Ward and convert in the red zone. Turnovers and sacks ultimately doomed the Titans. The Patriots controlled the clock all day, holding the ball for 37 minutes as 12 seconds compared to Tennessee's 22 minutes and 48 seconds. That kind of possession dominance allowed New England to stay balanced, grind out drives, and keep the Titans' offense off the field. New England totaled 212 passing yards and 175 rushing yards. Meanwhile, Tennessee managed 216 passing yards, but only 39 rushing yards, struggling to sustain drives. Special teams made a decisive impact as well. New England's kick coverage and return units consistently flipped field position, and a key punt return set up one of the Patriots' touchdown drives, underscoring the importance of all 3 phases of the game. Vrabel's return to Nashville added an emotional layer. Fans greeted him warmly, acknowledging his 6 seasons as Titans' head coach. For Vrabel, it was a reminder of his roots and a clear sign of how far he's taken the Patriots in 2025. For Vrabel and New England, the win reinforces that the Patriots are more than a team on a streak. They're disciplined, explosive, and confident. Vrabel's leadership is evident, blending offensive efficiency with opportunistic defense. For Tennessee, losing to their former coach stings, but it highlights areas that still need work: protecting the quarterback, finishing drives, and limiting turnovers. Looking ahead, New England builds momentum and credibility in the AFC, while Tennessee faces tough questions about how to rebound and keep the playoff dream alive. While the season is still young, it's hard to imagine anyone referring to this campaign as "Remember the Titans." Tennessee has struggled to find consistency, and despite flashes of talent from Cam Ward and Chimere Dykes, the team has been plagued by turnovers, protection issues, and missed opportunities in the red zone. In contrast, the Patriots' performance under Mike Vrabel in Nashville showed just how far the former Titans coach has come. His team executed with precision on both sides of the ball, demonstrating that while Vrabel's former squad remains a work in progress, New England is surging forward with momentum, discipline, and a clear identity. The Indianapolis Colts stormed into SoFi Stadium and imposed their will on the Los Angeles Chargers, riding a powerful running game and opportunistic defense to a 38-24 victory. Indianapolis totaled 401 yards while controlling the clock for 25 minutes and 33 seconds, with Jonathan Taylor accounting for 132 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Daniel Jones efficiently managed the offense, completing 23 of 34 passes for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert lit up the field despite the Los Angeles Chargers falling to the Indianapolis Colts, throwing for 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on 37 of 55 passing. Herbert also chipped in on the ground with 31 rushing yards on 6 carries. But LA's running game never really took off, totaling just 54 rushing yards. Meanwhile, Jonathan Taylor carried the Colts' offensive load, racking up 3 rushing touchdowns. The Colts' defense forced multiple turnovers, including interceptions by Grover Stewart and Nick Cross, giving Indianapolis an early lead they never relinquished. Los Angeles gained 445 total yards, but turnovers and missed opportunities kept them from mounting a comeback. For the Colts, the win highlighted a balanced attack and a defense making big plays, while the Chargers must tighten execution and minimize mistakes to remain competitive. Daniel Jones has truly found a home in Indianapolis and earned his nickname, Indiana Jones. Despite Herbert leading a late Charger Bolt-style comeback attempt, Indianapolis controlled the game when it mattered, converting yards into points efficiently. At Arrowhead, the Kansas City Chiefs dominated the Las Vegas Raiders in a 31-0 shutout, racking up 434 total yards while controlling the ball for 42 minutes and 08 seconds. Patrick Mahomes was stellar, completing 26 of 35 passes for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Isaiah Pacheco contributed 57 rushing yards and a score. Kansas City's defense smothered Las Vegas, allowing just 95 total yards and only 3 first downs all game, forcing multiple punts and creating sacks that prevented any offensive rhythm. Geno Smith struggled to spark the Raiders, completing 10 of -16 passes for just 67 yards with no touchdowns or interceptions. The Raiders were forced to play from behind almost the entire contest and had the ball for just 17 minutes and 52 seconds, giving the Chiefs a huge edge in controlling the pace. In a surprisingly one-sided affair, the Kansas City Chiefs dominated the Las Vegas Raiders with a balanced offensive attack and a suffocating defense. Despite the high expectations of a thrilling AFC West rivalry, this game lacked the usual fireworks, as the Chiefs controlled every aspect of the contest. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs didn't need to rely on their typical big plays, instead leaning on a methodical approach, mixing up the run and pass while putting pressure on the Raiders' struggling defense. On the other side of the ball, Kansas City's defense suffocated whoever the Raiders ran out as quarterback. The Raiders, who have been plagued by inconsistency all season, were completely overwhelmed. Their inability to execute and the mounting mistakes turned this game into a nightmare, making it clear that they need a serious reset to avoid further embarrassment in the weeks ahead. In a dramatic Week 7 showdown, the Denver Broncos staged a fourth-quarter comeback to edge the New York Giants 33-32 at Mile High. Denver totaled 407 yards to New York's 387, with nearly even time of possession, 29 minutes and 49 seconds to 30 minutes and 11 seconds. The Broncos, Bo Nix threw and ran for 4 total touchdowns, engineering a furious rally capped by a 39-yard game-winning field goal by Will Lutz as time expired. Giants, Jackson Dart threw for 283 yards and 4 total scores, but couldn't hold the lead late. Denver's resilience and clutch execution contrasted with New York's inability to close, making this a defining win for the Broncos, while raising serious questions about the Giants' finishing ability. Denver quarterback Bo Nix turned into a one-man show in the fourth quarter, accounting for 4 total touchdowns, 2 passing and 2 rushing. He threw for 279 yards and ran for 48 more in that quarter alone. That kind of dual-threat performance when trailing is extremely rare, and he pulled it off with poise. The Broncos were shut out through the first 3 quarters, trailing 19-0 entering the fourth, but they erupted for 33 unanswered points in the final stanza, setting a franchise record for most points in a quarter. That kind of turnaround speaks to their resilience and belief. All of this drama unfolded on a poignant day for the Broncos, who honored Demaryius Thomas, remembering the legendary wide receiver's impact on the franchise and the city of Denver. The tribute added emotion and energy, and the team seemed to channel that inspiration into one of the most electrifying finishes in franchise history. Demaryius Thomas, who tragically passed at the age of 33 and famously wore number 88, the team put together a performance that felt almost scripted by fate. Trailing the New York Giants 32-0 entering the fourth quarter, Denver erupted for 33 points in the final frame, with 2 scoring possessions combining for 8 points. a subtle nod to Thomas' iconic number. Bo Nix orchestrated the comeback with 4 fourth-quarter touchdowns, 2 passing and 2 rushing, while the defense recorded 3 tackles, echoing the age Thomas left us. The game-winning drive began with just 33 seconds left in the fourth quarter, culminating in a 39-yard field goal by Will Lutz as time expired. The alignment of points, possessions, tackles, and clock time with Thomas' number and age made this victory an emotional tribute, and the Broncos seemed inspired to honor their legendary wide receiver in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. It was as if Thomas was in the building with the Broncos. The Green Bay Packers narrowly escaped with a 27-23 victory over the Arizona Cardinals in Glendale. In a game marked by yardage advantages and late drama, Arizona actually outgained Green Bay 330 yards to 262 and dominated time of possession 34 minutes and 10 seconds to 25 minutes and 50 seconds. But the Packers executed when it mattered most. Josh Jacobs delivered 2 critical touchdowns for Green Bay, while quarterback Jordan Love was steady, with 19 of 29 passing for 179 yards and a score. Defensively, Micah Parsons made key plays, including 3 sacks, one of which sealed the game on a crucial fourth-down attempt. Arizona's Jacoby Brissett completed 25 of 36 passes for 279 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Trey McBride had a standout receiving day, but missed opportunities, and a worn defense in the fourth quarter cost the Cardinals. With a 23-20 lead and about 6 minutes to go, Arizona went for it on 4th and 1 at their own 48-yard line instead of playing it safe. They failed. Brissett was stuffed on the sneak, turning the ball over on downs. That gave Green Bay the ball and momentum in the crunch. Green Bay converted a key 4th and 2 later in the drive with a 15-yard pass to Tucker Kraft, keeping their go-ahead drive alive. Then Josh Jacobs punched in the game-winning touchdown with a 1-yard run with just under 2 minutes left. The Packers' defense came up big when it counted. Micah Parsons had 3 sacks, including 1 in the red zone on a critical late drive. Red zone inefficiency. Despite moving the ball well, Arizona couldn't consistently finish their red zone opportunities. They scored just 2 touchdowns on 4 red zone trips. Meanwhile, Green Bay was more efficient in scoring when they got close. Green Bay cut into Arizona's lead before the half, thanks to a 61-yard field goal by Lucas Havrisik as time expired in the second quarter. That shifted momentum and gave the Packers a psychological lift heading into the second half, while the Cardinals actually outgained the Packers in total yards. But in the NFL, turnovers and execution on big downs often outweigh raw yardage. And that proved true here for Arizona. For Green Bay, the win showed grit and clutch performance, while Arizona must finish stronger to convert yardage and possession into victories. When the New Orleans Saints came marching into Soldier Field, they weren't expecting a Sunday afternoon run from the Chicago Bears that looked more like a maul than a march. But that's exactly what they got. Chicago dominated early, punished the Saints on the ground, and made big plays on defense to pull off a convincing 26-14 win. Chicago's ground game was the engine. The Bears rushed for a season-high 222 yards, with DeAndre Swift ripping off 124 yards and a touchdown, and Kyle Monangai adding another score. That rushing dominance helped control possession. Chicago held the ball for 36 minutes and 19 seconds, compared to just 23 minutes and 41 seconds for New Orleans. Overall, Chicago racked up 386 total yards, combining 164 passing yards and 222 rushing yards, showing they could attack both on the ground and through the air. Meanwhile, the Saints managed 253 total yards, including 209 passing and only 44 rushing yards. Their offense struggled to sustain drives, partly because the Bears' defense forced 3 interceptions, a fumble, and numerous third-down failures. Chicago's defense set the tone early. Nahshon Wright, Kevin Byard III, and Tremaine Edmonds each snagged an interception, while Montez Sweat forced a fumble recovered by Gervon Dexter Sr. These turnovers directly led to points, giving the Bears control from the opening drive. Special teams also contributed, with key punts and returns keeping the Saints pinned deep. The Saints did show flashes. Spencer Rattler connected twice with Chris Olave for touchdowns, a 21-yard strike before halftime, and a 14-yard pass early in the third quarter. But turnovers, 3 picks and a lost fumble, killed any chance of a comeback. Chicago responded with 2 field goals by Jake Moody to ice the win. For the Bears, this was more than a win. It was a statement. Dominant rushing, disciplined clock management, and opportunistic defense show a team building real momentum. For the Saints, turnovers, a stifled run game, and penalties keep their season in jeopardy. Big plays from Olave aren't enough if the mistakes continue. Throughout this season, the Saints have shown sparks of talent and ability to put up big yards, even points at times, but like most young teams, they seem to be their biggest enemy. Looking ahead, Chicago is surging with balanced, complementary football. New Orleans must correct fundamental issues or risk further losses as the season progresses. When the Washington Commanders came to AT&T Stadium in a renewal of the classic rivalry, the Dallas Cowboys met them with a full-throated response. Offense, defense, and special teams all clicking in a dominant 44-22 win. Dallas racked up 409 total net yards, controlling the game's momentum and keeping the Commanders in catch-up mode. They held the ball for 31 minutes and 21 seconds compared to Washington's 28 minutes and 39 seconds, allowing their playmakers to stay fresh and deliver. Quarterback Dak Prescott was sharp, going 21 of 30 for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Javonte Williams powered the ground game with 116 rushing yards and a touchdown. On the other side, Jaden Daniels completed 12 of 22 passes for 156 passing yards and 1 score, and he also added 35 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Washington actually gained 341 total yards, but 2 turnovers and a Cowboys defense that generated pressure kept them from mounting a serious comeback. The Cowboys' defense also came up with some timely plays, including sacks, helping to derail Washington's rhythm. For Dallas, this is a breakout kind of win. They showed balance, run and pass, capitalized on turnovers, and asserted themselves in all 3 phases. For the yardage alone wasn't enough. Mistakes and missed opportunities killed them. The injury to Daniels, strip sack, loomed large. Looking ahead, the Cowboys have a chance to build real momentum. Washington needs to shore up their protection and make better decisions under duress, or risk slipping further. For Dan Quinn's squad, while this is only Week 7, they are a shell of the team they were last year that took the NFL-verse by storm. Under the primetime lights at Levi's Stadium, the San Francisco 49ers held off the Atlanta Falcons in a gritty, low-scoring affair. San Francisco's steady attack and opportunistic defense proved just enough for a 20-10 victory. The 49ers compiled 324 total net yards, including a potent ground game, while controlling possession for 32 minutes and 10 seconds, compared to Atlanta's 27 minutes and 50 seconds. San Francisco 49ers. The Falcons generated 292 yards, but they couldn't convert yards into consistent scoring. Quarterback Michael Penix Jr. of the Falcons threw for 241 yards, but the 49ers defense held firm, limiting the damage elsewhere. Meanwhile, Mac Jones completed 17 of 26 passes for 152 yards with an interception, and while Jones was limited, Christian McCaffrey powered the 49ers with a standout game. He rushed for 129 yards and scored twice, and caught 7 passes for 72 yards, anchoring San Francisco's offensive push. The Falcons' second-quarter drive stood out for its length and clock control. A 19-play march that lasted 10 minutes and 40 seconds, the longest such drive for Atlanta since 1994. For the 49ers, this was a classic do-what-you-do-well game. Run the ball, maintain possession, and make key plays on defense. McCaffrey is doing serious damage, and they're looking like a disciplined, tough team. For the Falcons, they showed they can move the ball, but their inability to finish, especially in the red zone, keeps biting them. Their long drives are impressive, but they need to turn those into points. Looking ahead, San Francisco could be building into a real contender if they keep leaning on their strength. Atlanta needs to tighten up execution. Their potential is there, but so are the cracks. Sunday Night Football featured a heavyweight NFC clash under the Monday night lights. The Detroit Lions roared past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 24-9, handing Tampa Bay their first road loss of the season. It was a statement win for Detroit, backed by a dominant performance from running back Jahmyr Gibbs and a disciplined, opportunistic defense. On this night, Gibbs was nothing short of sensational. He piled up a career-high 218 yards from scrimmage, including 136 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. His first score came on a jaw-dropping 78-yard dash, turning the momentum squarely in Detroit's favor. He wasn't just a ground threat. Gibbs also made plays through the air, catching 3 passes for 82 yards, proving to be a dual-threat nightmare for the Buckings. Quarterback Jared Goff posted a solid line, 20 of 29 for 241 yards and a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who hauled in 6 catches for 86 yards. On their game-opening drive, Detroit struck early when Goff zipped a 27-yard scoring pass to St. Brown. Later, after Mayfield cut the deficit with a screenplay to rookie Tez Johnson, Goff methodically moved the Lions downfield again. Gibbs did the rest, first with a reception, then a plunge into the end zone to reassert Detroit's control. Tampa's offense sputtered in hostile territory. Baker Mayfield went 28 of 50 for 228 yards, throwing one touchdown, but also one interception. He was under pressure all night, sacked 4 times as Detroit's front relentlessly broke through, though the Bucs managed to get on the board with a 53-yard field goal from Chase McLaughlin before halftime. Their red zone woes persisted. A glimmer of hope came early in the third quarter when Mayfield found Tez Johnson on a 22-yard screen, but the 2-point conversion failed, keeping the game out of reach. Detroit's defense played with fire. Yaya Diaby ripped off a strip sack, and rookie Elijah Roberts recovered the fumble, a huge momentum swing. Servoche Adenis also added a sack, and Jamel Dean picked off Mayfield, his 3rd interception in 4 games. On third downs, Tampa struggled mightily, converting just 4 of 16, and Detroit's persistence on defense kept the Buccaneers from ever truly gaining traction. In a bitter turn for Tampa Bay, Mike Evans left the game early, after suffering a concussion and a shoulder injury. The loss of their veteran playmaker could loom large for the rest of the season. If this was a title fight, Detroit landed the knockout. Gibbs took over like a bulldozer, their defense imposed its will, and the Buccaneers never found a counterpunch that stuck. This wasn't just a win. It felt like Detroit's declaration. They're not just contenders, they're threats. The Texans traveled to Seattle to take on the Seahawks at Lumen Field for Monday Night Football. In this primetime showdown at Lumen Field, the Seattle Seahawks secured a 27-19 victory over the Houston Texans, fueled by a dominant ground game, opportunistic defense, and timely passing. Disruptive defense that kept Houston quarterback C.J. Stroud under pressure all evening. Seattle outgained Houston 316-254 in total yards, built largely on 118 rushing yards and efficient chunk plays through the air, while the Texans struggled to establish any kind of rhythm on the ground with just 56 rushing yards on 17 attempts. Both teams finished with identical net passing yardage, but Seattle made far more of its opportunities early, jumping out to a 14-0 first-quarter lead on a Zach Charbonnet touchdown run and an 11-yard scoring pass from Sam Darnold to Jackson Smith-Njigba. Stroud fought to keep Houston competitive despite heavy pressure, completing 23 of 49 passes for 229 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. He was hit frequently behind an offensive line that failed to keep Seattle's pass rush in check. Darnold delivered a steadier performance for the Seahawks, finishing 17 of 31 for 213 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, distributing the ball efficiently and leaning on the run game when needed. Smith-Njigba emerged as Darnold's most reliable target, catching 8 passes for 123 yards and the early touchdown that helped Seattle seize control. Zach Charbonnet provided the offensive backbone, scoring twice on the ground and consistently extending drives with tough yards between the tackles. Houston found brief life in the second half when Will Anderson Jr. scooped up a fumble and returned it for a touchdown, briefly injecting energy into a Texans team that had been bottled up most of the night. Kaimi Fairbairn added 2 field goals, and rookie running back Woody Marks caught a late 4-yard touchdown from Stroud in the fourth quarter. But the Texans' offensive surge came too late to threaten Seattle's lead. The Seahawks added a third-quarter field goal and another Charbonnet touchdown to maintain comfortable control into the final minutes. Time of possession proved a subtle but meaningful edge. The Texans held the ball for 27 minutes and 43 seconds, while the Seahawks controlled it for 32 minutes and 17 seconds. The Seahawks' 27-19 Monday Night Football victory over the Texans carried very different implications for each team. For Seattle, the win pushed them to 5-2, keeping pace in a tight NFC West race and strengthening their playoff positioning. Their defense once again proved playoff caliber, consistently pressuring C.J. Stroud on more than 30% of his dropbacks and forcing mistakes, a sign of depth even while missing key contributors such as Devin Witherspoon. Offensively, the Seahawks showed both promise and inconsistency. Sam Darnold delivered efficient moments through the air, Jackson Smith-Njigba continued to emerge as a reliable playmaker, and Zach Charbonnet's 2 rushing scores helped establish an identity built around balance and ball control. The win also gave Seattle momentum heading into their bye week, offering valuable time to refine their offensive rhythm. Overall, this performance reinforced Seattle not as a fringe playoff team, but as a legitimate NFC contender, capable of winning with complementary football, and at 5-2, they are soaring high. For Houston, the loss dropped them to 2-4, tightening the pressure on a team with postseason aspirations and exposing familiar concerns. Their defense continued to be the backbone, producing big plays, including a fumble return touchdown by Will Anderson Jr., but the unit was forced to shoulder too much of the burden. Stroud once again faced heavy pressure behind an inconsistent offensive line, preventing Houston from establishing rhythm either on the ground or in the passing game, and the run game's lack of production kept the Texans one-dimensional for most of the night. While the defensive effort showed promise, the offensive struggles and protection issues underscored a reality for coach DeMeco Ryans. Without cleaner execution, sustained drives, and better support for Stroud, Houston will find it difficult to climb back into the AFC race. In short, the game served as a confidence-boosting statement for Seattle, and a sobering reminder to Houston that their path to contention requires significant offensive improvement. While the Texans have struggled greatly this game, they are in a weaker division. But in saying that, they are chasing the Colts, who are surging this season. Tennessee is in the cellar, and Jacksonville very inconsistent, so there is time. It's just 2 months into the season, but again, they will find it difficult to do so if they do not address their needs. On that note, let's end here. The week offered plenty of excitement, with several thrilling matchups. Thursday Night Football saw a nail-biting contest as the Bengals edged out the Steelers, 33-31. In London, the Rams dominated the Jaguars, putting on a strong performance. The Broncos pulled off a remarkable fourth-quarter comeback to defeat the Giants, 33-32, in another close finish. Elsewhere, the Chiefs blanked the Raiders, securing a dominant 31-0 victory. The Cowboys cruised to a blowout win over the Commanders, while the Patriots extended their win streak with a hard-fought victory against the Titans. Other key storylines included the Cowboys' offensive explosion, Indiana Jones and the Colts' surprise start, defensive stands, and the Jets' 0-7 start. At Diggin Deeper, we strive to capture every moment and bring it straight to you, the fans, ensuring that no defining play, no momentum-swinging hit, and no last-second kick goes unnoticed. From all of us here, thank you for joining me for another broadcast of Diggin' Deeper into the NFL. I'm Brian Parsons, your humble host, wishing you all the best. Stay safe, enjoy the games ahead, and God bless.